this is some of the lowest volumes. In fact, according to some estimates, the lowest volume we've seen in Bitcoin in the past 5 years. It can't get more boring than this. Or will it get interesting? Well, joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is StockCharts.com senior technical analyst Julius de Kempenaer. Julius, hello.
Good morning, Lawrence.
Good morning. So I'm looking at a bunch of charts you gave that you gave us here, and let's take a look at we have a long-term chart going back to the beginning of the decade, 2020, and you could see this here. Boy, are we compressed, aren't we?
Yeah, you already said it. Boring. I mean, there's nothing. Well, at least in crypto terms, there's almost nothing going on. It's flat. If you look at that long-term Bitcoin chart, that is trading between 25 and 31, and I think at least the last 2, 3, maybe even 4 times that I was on your show, we've been talking about that 25K barrier and 31 on the top side. And it's still there. Market remains in that range, testing the bottom, testing the top. We recently tested that lower area, and it looks as if we're on the way up. Got to be careful, but it looks as if we're now again on the way up. But we still remain in that range, and that is. Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't last too long. I think. I mean, if you really, my baseline scenario is for Bitcoin to move higher and to eventually move past that 31, 32 barrier. But it has to happen at some stage. If you remain suppressed and under that barrier, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger and more difficult to break it. So I'd like to see Bitcoin move higher and past that 32K level in the next, let's be careful here, 6 to 8 weeks, because otherwise it'll really become much, much more difficult, and we're really stuck in that sideways range.
I mean, I hate to say it, but mentally I look at that chart and I'm drawing a pennant from the beginning of 2023, and that means that it could go really bad, though, right?
Oh, if we sink below 25K, that is that's bad news. That is certainly bad news. I mean, because there are a few previous lows that could act as support, but I think that the more serious one is between 17 and 18. That's that little, we've touched that a few times in 22 and at start of 23. But the real danger is for a move to way below 15, I think, like 12.5. That's that, the lowest dotted line that you see there. That is a major breakout level that we had back.
Speaking of dangerous, we take a look at that Bitcoin ETH chart, right? That's the price of Bitcoin in ETH terms, correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, the price of ETH in Bitcoin terms. Let's.
Well, I mean,
I apologize.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it almost looks like a spine. What's going on here?
It looks, when I brought up this chart, I couldn't help myself and think about a patient in a hospital on a monitor, and he's dying. He's like going flat. There's nothing going on there. And that means that Bitcoin and Ether are moving in line. Bitcoin is kind of packed at, between 0.05 and 0.09, 0.10 of the Bitcoin price. And for the last, basically year to date.
Yeah, the correlation's at about 90 something, 0.9, I guess. It's really high correlation. When you see a chart that flat, that means it's just completely correlated, almost completely correlated. And that tells us that the entire market basically views the two major cryptos together. That their fates, whether we like it or not, are stuck together, like Bonnie and Clyde, Romeo and Juliet. Keep going.
All of the above. Yeah. 100%.
Doesn't end well.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. The only thing that we can say about these markets is that usually when you have these large trading ranges, and that goes for Bitcoin and also for this relationship, is that once you break, you usually get a very aggressive move in the direction of the break. So right now it's really boring, but by the time we're going to break on either side of that range, we're probably in for an aggressive move, either up or down.
Julius, talk to us about the significance of the Curve DAO token. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, I sent you an RRG, a relative rotation graph for a bunch of cryptos, and the ones that I usually look at are on that's the price chart. The reason I picked that is, okay, let me get back. On an RRG, that Curve DAO token really stands out as an outlier in the universe of cryptos. And that's why I brought that here, because most of the altcoins are underperforming Bitcoin, meaning that Bitcoin is the leading indicator and everything else is following Bitcoin. That is usually happening when the majors still have a move to go. And usually when Bitcoin has made a move, then you will see altcoins following suit. What we're seeing here is that Curve is actually ahead of the curve, pun intended, starting to pick up. And if you look at that long-term chart, that weekly, you can see how that lowest level is a very, very serious support level. It's been testing many, many times. And if we can bounce off that, we're now trading around just above 50 cents. I mean, this could easily go to 150 and possibly higher. So that's the reason I picked that chart, because it stands out on a relative basis versus Bitcoin.
And then do we have that beautiful rotation chart? There it is.
If you that's why you can see why I picked that curve chart, because on the left-hand side, all these ones in blue, everything on the right is better than Bitcoin. Everything on the left is worse than Bitcoin. And you can see that these blues, they are already starting to roll over back down. So it looks as if they will not be able to cross over to the right part of the chart. And Curve DAO is doing that, is exactly that. So it's really setting itself apart from, let's say, the entire group of altcoins. So this is why this drew my attention. And then I brought up that price chart of Curve DAO, and I saw that it was bottoming against a very major support level, giving you pretty much I think a low risk entry point, because if you sink below that support area, that's obviously a hard stop. You need to get out, because that's a big stop loss. But the upside is massive.
Julius, I know we're looking at the data here, but any idea as to why the Curve DAO token is outperforming the rest of the market?
You know what? I'm a technical analyst. If you ask me what the project is, what they really do, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. So maybe enlighten me. What are they doing? What's so special? Why is it standing out?
That's why you're here. We're here to ask the experts why. We'll look into it and get back to our audience.
Technical analysts don't care about fundamentals.
No, talk about price.
That's like theology.
Looks beautiful.
Julius, thank you so much for joining us this morning and unpacking those charts for us.
Thank you very much.
That was StockCharts.com senior technical analyst Julius de Kempenaer.